The Committee of Finance is hereby called to order. Madam Clerk, can I have a roll call, please?
Senator Marvin A. Blyden. Senator Blyden, present. Senator Samuel Carrion. Senator Carrion, absent. Senator Dwayne M. DeGraff.
Here.
Senator DeGraff, present. Senator Donna A. Fred Gregory. Senator Fred Gregory, absent. Senator
Present.
She's present. She's present.
Senator Donna A. Fred Gregory, present. Senator Javon E. James Sr. Senator James Sr., absent. Senator Janelle K. Sarro. Senator Sarro, present. Senator Kurt A. Vialet.
Here.
Senator Vialet, present. Mr. Chair, you have 5 present, 2 absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any correspondence?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
You may proceed.
Correspondence dated October 18th, 2021. Honorable Kurt A. Vialet, Chair, Committee on Finance, 34th Legislature of the Virgin Islands, 3022 Estate Golden Rock, St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands. Dear Chairman Vialet, please excuse my absence from the start of today's October 19th, 2021 Committee on Finance meeting, as I was invited as Chair of the Committee on Youth, Sports, Parks, and Recreation to give remarks at the groundbreaking ceremony at the Vincent F. Mason Senior Coral Resort. Therefore, I am respectfully asking that I be excused until my arrival. Thank you for your consideration and understanding. Sincerely, Samuel Carrion, Senator, 34th Legislature of the Virgin Islands.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I was distracted for a minute. He said he's going to be absent or tardy?
Tardy.
Okay, please mark Senator Carrion as tardy.
Mr. Chair, you have 5 present, 1 absent, 1 tardy.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'd also like to welcome Senator Noble Francis. Thank you for coming. Senator Payne, thank you for being here. Madam Clerk, you may proceed and read the agenda into the record.
The Committee on Finance for Tuesday, October 19th, 2021 at 12 p.m. in the Fritz E. Lawetz Legislative Chambers, St. Croix, Virgin Islands. The Committee on Finance will consider the following bills. Bill number 34-0099, an act amending Title III, Virgin Islands Code, Chapter 25, Sections 530G and Chapter 27, Section 705C, relating to the mandatory retirement age of police officers, firefighters, and prison guards to change the mandatory retirement age from 55 to 63. Proposed by Senator Dwayne M. DeGraff. Invited testifiers, Ray Martinez, Commissioner Nominee, Virgin Islands Police Department. Winnie Testamark, Director, Bureau of Corrections. Darrell A. George Sr., Director, Virgin Islands Fire Services. Cindy Richardson, Director, Division of Personnel. Austin L. Nibbs, Administrator, Government Employees Retirement System. Lieutenant Aaron Krieger, Member, Law Enforcement Supervisors Union. Andre Dorsey, President, Association of Firefighters. And Hadaya Casimir, President, Police Benevolent Association. Bill number 34-0089, an act appropriating $920,000 to the Virgin Islands Port Authority for the construction of an aesthetically pleasing cruise bay fish market and to modify the existing concrete boat ramp and bulkhead at the Little Cruise Bay Dock, Cruise Bay Quarter, and appropriating $580,000 to the Department of Public Works for the construction of a boat dock and slipway at Enide Pond on the island of St. John. Proposed by Senators Stephen D. Payne Sr. and Janelle K. Sarro. Invited testifiers, Carlton Dow, Executive Director, Virgin Islands Port Authority. Derek Gabriel, Commissioner, Department of Public Works. Jean-Pierre Oriol, Commissioner, Department of Planning and Natural Resources. And Kendall Anthony, St. John Fisherman. Bill number 34-0070, an act amending Title 33 Virgin Islands Code, Subtitle 1, Part 1, Chapter 3, Section 54B, relating to the remittance of the hotel room tax to the government from travel organizations and requiring the Director of the Virgin Islands Bureau of Internal Revenue, with the assistance of the Commissioner of Tourism, to enter into an agreement with all travel organizations that offer sleeping accommodations in the Virgin Islands to collect the hotel room tax required under 33 Virgin Islands Code, subsection 54, proposed by Senator Samuel Carrion. Invited testifiers, Joel Lee, Director, Bureau of Internal Revenue. Joseph Basholti, Commissioner, Department of Tourism. Lisa Hamilton, President, USVI Hotel and Tourism Association. Allison DeGazon, Director, Bureau of Economic Research. And Richard T. Evangelista, Commissioner, Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs. Mr. Chair, this concludes the reading of today's agenda.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good afternoon to the people of the Virgin Islands. Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon to the testifiers. Let me begin by apologizing for the late start. A number of senators were attending the groundbreaking ceremony for the Vincent Mason Pool in Frederickson. It was just completed. So we are going to immediately get started. I will begin by allowing the testifiers to put the name and title on the record. I'm going to begin by saying who should have been here, and if you're here representing a person, you can please put your name on the record. The Virgin Islands Police Department, Acting Commissioner Ray Martinez.
Yes, Ray A. Martinez, Police Commissioner Designee.
Nominee, thank you. Winnie Testamark.
Good afternoon. This is Everett Hansen. I'm representing for Ms. Testamark and the Bureau of Corrections.
Let's say the name again, sir.
Everett Hansen,
Okay,
Assistant
got it.
Director.
Okay, got it. Virgin Islands Fire Service, Mr. George.
Good afternoon, Senator. Antonio Stevens, the Assistant Director of Virgin Islands Fire Service.
Division of Personnel, Ms. Florine Hassel.
Good afternoon, Senator VLA. Florine Ordain Hassel, Assistant Director, representing for Director Sidney Richardson.
Mr. Nibbs, GRS.
Austin Nix, GRS Administrator.
And the unions, Law Enforcement Supervisors Union, Lieutenant Krieger. Mr. Dorsey, Fire Service.
Good afternoon, Andre Dorsey, representing the Association of Firefighters, Local 2125, St. Thomas, St. John District.
And thank you, Mr. Dorsey. Hadaya Casimir, Police Benevolent Association. Okay, so if Mr. Krieger or Officer Casimir joins us later. We'll let them put the name on the record and proceed with the testimony. So let's begin with Commissioner, Virgin Islands Police Department, Commissioner nominee Ray Martinez. You may proceed. Oh, I'm so sorry. Who speaks to this bill?
I do, Mr. Chair.
You may proceed, Senator DeGraff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, testifiers, all viewing, listening, and present. Bill number 34-0099, an act amending Title 3, Virgin Islands Code, Chapter 25, Section 530G, and Chapter 27, Section 705C, relating to the mandatory retirement age of police officers, firefighters, and prison guards to change the mandatory retirement age from 55 to 63. Thank you for having this meeting. It's been a long time waiting. And also, since the interim of that, the governor has also did a executive order extending it now. So what we are trying to do now is codify police officers from 55 years old to allow them to work for 63. And I understand there's an amendment to take it to 65. I do agree with everyone who may say, bring in younger people and let's use the younger people. But I am a proponent of let's work with what we have until we're able to get what we want. And there are valuable personnel in police, fire, and corrections who are there and who are borderline in these age groups, who are in these age groups, and they need a chance. Also, this will, I've had a couple of bills for GERS that get held in committee and different things. This also will also extend putting some monies in the GERS to assist the whole system as a whole. In 2016, my colleague, Mr. Vice President, on the Big Island, he came up with the inception of this bill, Act 7936, in its wisdom to extend the ages from 55 to 63. And this bill that I have today, 34-0099, is just trying to make it permanent. So the wisdom of my colleague at that point to this point, priceless. Thank you for that. And Mr. Chair, in your conversation from the last, I do have an amendment to adjust the bill and keep that the officers from 55 years old on would be able to stand for fit for duty evaluations. That's a must. So we make sure that's put in, and it will take it to the cognitive and mental capacity and capabilities a must in these particular choice of work. So again, I ask for my colleagues' support and moving this bill forward. Amend what we have to amend, but let's make it happen for the police, fire, and corrections officers to be able to work up to age 63, and if amended to 65, up to 65. Thank you for the time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much, Senator DeGraff, for the introduction. We're going to proceed with testimony. Commissioner nominee Ray Martinez, you may proceed.
Good afternoon, Chairman of the Committee on Finance, the Honorable Kurt VLA, and senators of the committee, legislative staff, members of my executive team, and the listening and viewing audience. I am Ray A. Martinez, Commissioner nominee of the Virgin Islands Police Department. My team and I would like to thank you for the opportunity to testify on behalf of Bill number 34-0099.
Commissioner nominee, I need you to turn on your camera. We're not seeing you.
One second.
Click your camera on.
Yeah, it's on. I don't know what else is what's happening, but the camera is on.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to log out and log back in, and we will go ahead to the representative for the Bureau of Corrections, and we'll come back to you. Mr. Hansen?
Thank you.
Everett Hansen, Assistant Director, Bureau of Corrections. Good morning, Chairman Court Violet, members of the Committee on Finance, other distinguished members of the 34th Legislature, staff members, and the listening and viewing audience. I'm Winnie Testamark, Director of the Bureau of Corrections. The Bureau supports Bill number 34-0099, an act amending Title III, Virgin Islands Code, Chapter 25, Sections 530 and Chapter 27, Section 705, relating to the mandatory retirement age of police officers, firefighters, and correction officers, to change the mandatory retirement age from 55 to 63. On behalf of the men and women who make up our sworn security staff, thank you for striking the term prison guard from the statute and replacing it with corrections officer and or correctional professionals, which reflects the modern holistic approach to corrections. This measure would help retain seasoned correctional officers and assist in mitigating our staff shortages. The benefit of additional years of experience, collective wisdom, wisdom that current correctional officers bring to the table would act as a force multiplier if the legislation is approved. The Bureau would achieve more significant and continuous operational coverage while the Bureau aggressively recruits additional correctional officers to join the team. Prisons and jails with severe staffing shortages put inmates and staff at higher risk of harm, are more vulnerable to litigation, and have more difficulty providing rehabilitation and reentry programs and service to inmates. This legislation alone will not solve the Bureau's chronic correctional officer shortages, to be sure. The committee should also consider the human cost of burnout that results when correctional officers work too many hours or have reached their life expectancy of a correctional officer. Those human and social costs cannot be measured by dollars and cents. The Bureau has two main concerns about this bill. First, extending the retirement age may have an adverse effect on the quality of life of those correctional officers that stay. A 1982 study of the consequences of a job stress in correctional officers revealed that the average life expectancy of a correctional officer was 59 years of age, compared to the average of 75 years of age, which is the national average. These statistics are based on various stressors of the job, in addition to many others like physical illness, constant and excessive use of annual and sick leave, and the inability to retire on schedule, which are some of the drawbacks of extending the mandatory retirement age. The second concern has to do with ensuring that those between age 55 and 63 continue to have physical and mental fitness to perform a demanding job duties of a correctional officer. There should be some requirement in the legislation that officers over a certain age must pass a fit for duty evaluation every few years. Those correction officers who perform their jobs according to the best correctional practices and who maintain their training and professional development will be extremely valuable to the Bureau, regardless of their age. Analyzing the bill through the lens of staffing and retention, our senior correction officers and supervisors with years of correctional experience and training are leaving government service, and the knowledge and experience they take with them cannot easily be replaced. Understaffing in a correctional context is also a concern where there are not enough officers available to staff authorized posts. And this would become more of a challenge once enough correctional officers reach retirement age. The 2021 staffing plan governing the John A. Bell Adult Correctional Facility on St. Croix requires 61 correctional officers for year 2022. And the 2018 staffing plan governing the Alexander A. Farley Complex on St. Thomas, now revised, requires a significant more correctional officers. In terms of costs, Once this bill becomes law, the Bureau will need an additional $10.1 million over a 10-year period. This calculation is based on the current salary of those correctional officers with 20 or more years of service. Currently, we have 13 correctional officers who meet or exceed the age of 55. 3 on St. Thomas and 10 on St. Croix. If the legislation is enacted, in the next 5 to 7 years, 6 correctional officers will be eligible to retire, 2 on St. Thomas and 4 on St. Croix. In conclusion, Mr. Chairman and fellow committee members, I urge the committee's favorable consideration in looking through the various lenses of retirement approaches in connection with this legislation. Adequate correctional officer staffing that is mentally and physically fit is the indispensable ingredient to safe, secure, and constitutionally compliant prison and jails. Mr. Chairman and committee members, I thank you for allowing me to present this testimony to the committee. My staff and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hansen, Director of Virgin Islands Fire Service, Mr. George. Mr. Stevens, who's representing him?
Good morning or good afternoon, honorable senators, testifiers, listening and viewing audience. My name is Antonio Stevens. I am the Assistant Director for the Virgin Islands Fire Service. Thank you for allowing me to provide testimony on behalf of the Virgin Islands Fire Service. Today, I am testifying on Bill number 34-0099, an Act amending Title 3, Chapter 25, Section 530, and Chapter 27, Section 705C, relative to the changing the mandatory retirement age of police officers, firefighters, and correction officers from 55 to 63. We at the Fire Service stand in support of this bill for several reasons. A 63-year-old today is not the same, nor do they look like a 62-year-old in past years. Increasing the mandatory retirement age does not affect the minimum requirement for retirement. Firefighters will still be able to retire with full retirement benefits once minimum service requirements are fulfilled. Current firefighters can retire with 20 or 25 years of service. Firefighters hired before 2006 can serve 20 years to be eligible for retirement, while those employed after 2006 must serve 25 years. Retirement at 63 allows firefighters the freedom to work until they are eligible for Social Security. Increasing the age to 63 gives the option of working additional years should they deem they are physically able. In closing, I want to once again thank you, the Senate body, for allowing the Virgin Islands Fire Service to testify in support of this bill. I now stand ready for your questions, should you have any. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Commissioner nominee Ray Martinez, you may proceed.
Good afternoon, again, Chairman of the Committee on Finance, the Honorable Kurt VLA.
Good afternoon. How are you? Good. How are you today?
1 minute. Somebody need to mute the device, please.
Yeah, you want the application? Sure. Okay, because the lady's out today, but I can give you that.
Somebody needs to mute their device. Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner nominee. So Martinez, turn on your device. Unmute your device.
Aye.
Okay, proceed.
I am Ray Martinez, Commissioner nominee of the Virgin Islands Police Department. My team and I would like to thank you for the opportunity to testify on behalf of Bill number 34-0099, an Act amending Title 3, Virgin Islands Code, Chapter 25, Sections 530G and Chapter 27, Section 705C, related to the mandatory retirement age of police officers, firefighters, and prison guards, to change the mandatory retirement age from 55 to 63. Increases in full retirement age are now trending throughout numerous local and state level jurisdictions, and the enforcement of such new laws is usually based on the year of birth of the employee, making such changes incremental. For example, enacted in 1983, the retirement age for full Social Security benefits has already been increased from 65 to 67 for anyone born in 1960 or later, as part of a comprehensive legislation to strengthen the Social Security's financing at that time when the program faced an imminent financial crisis. The measure was able to bring some relief to that system. Nationally, proponents of increasing the retirement age argue that people are living longer and therefore can continue working for more years. Prior to the pandemic, people were indeed living longer, thus providing justification for increasing the retirement age. However, it must be pointed out that according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the life expectancy in the United States fell by a year and a half in 2020 to 77.3 years, the lowest level since 2003, primarily due to the deaths caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. This reduction in life expectancy continues a trend occurring over the last 4 years. While the COVID pandemic may account for some of the recent decline, other factors such as increased obesity and drug and alcohol-related deaths may contribute to the trend as well. Moreover, considering the pandemic, increasing the retirement age in a gradual manner will play a key role in ensuring the viability of the pension system and reduces the financial burden on the Treasury. Nonetheless, the age composition of the population continues to change and people continue to opt to work longer. Mr. Chair, it is a mission of the Virgin Islands Police Department to serve and protect the territory of the Virgin Islands, its visitors, property, and persons alike. This measure assists us with resolving some well-established manpower issues by extending the tour of duty for law enforcement professionals, allowing more officers to continue to serve past the initial standard age of retirement. On the other hand, the government of the Virgin Islands assumes a total cost of $3,663,407.39 in salaries for those 47 officers aged 55 to 63, who will soon be mandated to retire within the next year and impacted by the changes in this measure. If enacted over the next 5 years, the VIPD will benefit as 11 officers 60 and above will be able to extend their tours of duty territory-wide. If a relatively high percentage of officers were to choose to work longer under a higher mandatory retirement age, the impact will result in only a modest increase in the average rate of pay compared to keeping it at the current age of 55. Furthermore, it provides the opportunity for individuals to save longer for their retirement and so helps to ensure that individuals will have financial security later in life. Once again, I appreciate the opportunity before you today to address this measure, as it certainly affects the men and women in blue. The VIPD will continue its efforts with the human capital we currently maintain. In the meantime, the department also intends to continue its recruitment tour, both locally and nationally, and will continue to advertise incentives for joining our police force. I stand by to answer your questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Nominee, for your testimony. I also like to welcome committee members, Senator Samuel Carrion, non-committee members, Senator Franklin Johnson. Thank you for coming. Ms. Hassel, you may proceed. Assistant Commissioner Hassel.
Good afternoon to the distinguished members of the 34th Legislature's Committee on Finance, non-committee members, our listening and viewing audience, and the Division of Personnel team. My name is Florine Ordain Hassel, Assistant Director of the Division of Personnel. And accompanying me today is Ms. Millicent O'Bain, Territorial Administrator of Recruitment and Classification. On behalf of Director Nominee Cindy Richardson, we thank you for the invitation to offer testimony on Bill number 340099, which changes the mandatory age of retirement for police officers, firefighters, and correction officers from age 55 to 63. As noted in the bill submission, Act number 7936 temporarily raised the age from 55 to 63, but expired on October 1st, 2021. The intent of this bill is to make age 63 the permanent mandatory retirement age for police officers, firefighters, and correction officers. As we begin the dialogue on this proposal, we would also note that in Governor Albert Bryan's Jr. most recent executive order, he included a provision allowing police officers, firefighters, and prison guards to remain in service until age 65, effective immediately, and so long as the order remained in effect. From the onset, we would like to commend the legislature on the intent of additional measures which recognizes the need to implement additional strategies for the retention and recruitment of staff in agency that continue to suffer from critical manpower shortages. Within the Division of Personnel, it is our firm belief that ability, not age, should be the criteria used to obtain or retain a job. Therefore, we would suggest possibly eliminating the word mandatory from the proposed bill, giving officers even beyond the age of 63 who are capable of performing their duties or offering their institutional knowledge the chance to serve and allowing for succession planning. In most professions, forced retirement based on age is illegal. Although many employers used to have a mandatory retirement age, this practice was eventually prohibited by the Federal Age Discrimination in Employment Act, which prohibits discrimination against employees who are at least 40 years old in the terms, conditions, or privilege of employment, including hiring, firing, promotion, layoff, compensation, benefits, job assignments, and training. While state and local governments may institute a mandatory retirement age of 55 or older for firefighters and law enforcement officers, at least 33 states and localities have been or being sued by the EEOC for the establishment of mandatory retirement or minimum hiring age laws. As we all know, the territory is faced, particularly in the midst of this pandemic, with hiring challenges that force us to think outside the box and generate new strategies. From a human resources standpoint, our concerns center on equity, and we propose putting the focus on workforce development initiatives that are also widen our qualified candidate pool, such as looking at the other end of the spectrum. While we're examining retirement policies, consider widening the pool for younger candidates. The minimum recruitment age within these enforcement fields to 18, with the goal of recruiting officers when they are mature enough to meet the standards similar to that of the military. We have denied applicants for not reaching their 20th birthday, which is our current age of entry. Amending our policies can further help us revive, repurpose, or reprioritize programs such as the police cadets, which helps expose young members of our community to enforcement careers and build trust early. Creating multiple pipelines for qualified candidates, a strategic approach to recruitment that involves partners across departments, agencies, branches, and sectors. This is a critical priority of the Governor's Workforce Development Initiative, which look at the bigger picture of public-private sector collaboration and focuses on targeted initiatives for education, training, and building connections. Reducing recruitment obstacles, such as the other age limitations. In 2013, for example, DOP launched a pilot program to identify, recruit, and place former highly skilled military career officers in hopes of significantly reducing overtime costs. However, we were faced with age limitations that prohibited applicants over the age of 46 to qualify. At that time, most of the officers were retired from the military and exceeded the age requirement for career in police, corrections, and fire. Looking at where those obstacles exist in our policies and practices throughout government would be a great help in opening up job access to qualified applicants. Once again, thank you, senators, for the opportunity to offer our perspective and for your efforts to help create a robust government workforce. As we continue to discuss and explore some of the ideas above, the Division of Personnel looks forward to collaborating with this committee to really strengthen the proposal, make it as equitable as possible, and look for additional opportunities to further cut down on obstacles that can impact our recruitment efforts. Ms. Obaid and I stand ready to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hassel. Mr. Nibbs, Government Employee Retirement System.
Good day, Honorable Kurt Valley, Chairman of the Committee on Finance, committee members, other distinguished senators present in the chambers, and the listening and viewing audience. I am Austinel Nibbs, Administrator of the Government Employees Retirement System. The GRS appreciates this opportunity to give testimony on Bill number 34-0090, an act amending Title III, Virgin Islands Code, Chapter 25, Section 530G, and Chapter 27, Section 705C, relating to the mandatory age of police officers, firefighters, and prison guards to change the mandatory retirement age from 55 to 63. The GRS is in support of this legislation. The advantages to the GRS by passing this bill is the additional contributions that will be collected for additional years of service for those police officers, firefighters, and prison guards between the age of 55 to 63 years. As required by law, proposed legislation before becoming law requires an actuarial evaluation. Our actuary response to the proposed legislation as follows. In reviewing the proposed bill to change the mandatory retirement age for certain classes of hazardous employees from 55 to age 63 permanently, we estimate that this will have a de minimis effect on GRS's unfunded liability, the ADEC, projected contributions, and projected insolvency. Our database shows 53 members with the position titles of police officers, firefighters, and prison guards that are currently between the age of 55 to 63. We estimated that the additional total fixed contributions that would be collected over the 8-year period, depending on the ages of the members, be approximately $5.6 million, roughly $600,000 to $700,000 annually. In conclusion, the GRS recommends the passage of Bill number 34-0099 and commends the sponsor of this bill for his willingness to address the funding of the GRS. However, we must place on the record that GRS endorses a comprehensive approach in addressing the funding of the system. Based on the October 1, 2020 actuarial valuation results, the actuarial accrued liability is $5.1 billion. And the unfunded actuarial accrued liability is $4.5 billion. The funded percentage for the GRS pension plan is 11.4%, with an insolvency date of September 30, 2025 or sooner, based on the market performance. On September 30, 2021, our assets of the system were $472.4 million, liquid $359.6 million. The summary of withdrawals from the portfolio to pay retirement benefits and expenses as follows. In fiscal year 2021, we withdrew $109 million to pay benefits. Fiscal year 2022, so far, we have withdrawn $15 million. Fiscal years 2017 through 2021, last 5 years, we have withdrawn $549 million. In fiscal years 2000 to 2021, in the last 22 years, we have withdrawn $1.9 billion to pay benefits and expenses. Mr. Chairman, this ends our testimony. I'm available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nibbs, for your testimony. Colleagues, Mr. Dorsey, you're here just to provide answers to any possible questions, correct?
That is correct, Senator.
Okay, thank you so much. So, colleagues, we're going to go directly into a round of questioning. I think it's a pretty straightforward bill, so we're going to go to a 3-minute round, beginning with Senator Blight. Senator Blight, you recognize.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to my colleagues. Good afternoon to the listening and viewing audience, staff, central staff. This bill is a straightforward bill, and I want to thank, first of all, the sponsor for bringing the bill forward. I must say that I do agree with many of the statements that was mentioned by Assistant Director for Personnel. In respect to the other end of the spectrum, when it comes to trying to recruit younger individuals, bring it to the age of 18, like they do in the military. But I must say training is critical, though, because the military have the best training programs. And once you do that, I believe training will be a critical part of that. Also, you spoke to creating multiple pipelines for qualified candidates in terms of a strategic approach to recruitment that involves partners across all government agencies, branches, and sectors. I really do agree with you on that. So I have no issue with that. When it comes to those individuals between the age specified in the bill, I know that most states, I believe 33 states to be exact, do not have an age limit, because I believe it should be based on, as you stated in your testimony, Assistant Commissioner, Director, it should be based on your skill set and not your age. Because, of course, we know the new 50 is 40 and new 60 is 50. So nonetheless, many folks are in good condition. As the sponsor said, they have to take a physical. So I believe it makes sense, because it also assists. It assists in our shortfalls right now when it comes to those three agencies, the Fire Department, the Police Department, and Correction Bureau. I do believe, though, that when it comes to retention and when it comes to basically having other individuals, under those individuals, it will also help for those veteran individuals to also assist in basically molding them, training them, and bringing them in those positions. So it does a lot of things in terms of retaining retention and basically assuring that we keep those agencies going with the shortfalls that we do have here in the territory in recruiting enough individuals to be part of those agencies in order to basically keep us safe and maintain what's there. So I do stand in support of the legislation. And again, I want to thank the sponsor for bringing it forward. I really don't have any questions. I believe everyone is on board and have stated that they do support the bill. And it also, of course, helps with our retirement system. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, for the time.
Thank you so much, Senator Blyden. Senator Sarro, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's not much for me to say on this legislation, to be honest. I just be babbling for the allotted time. But, Mr. Nebbs, I see your testimony, and you couldn't help but tell us that we need to fund the system in Section 4. Duly noted. Ms. Hassel, quickly, afternoon, my friend. The change in date would not, the code, we wouldn't be impacting the regular physicals and competency tests that they have to still do, right? Or anyone?
According to the bill, it doesn't seem that way, Senator.
Okay, good. Well, I mean, I really don't have any any concerns. But just let me go to your testimony. So you're suggesting that we need to change the minimum requirement as well?
We suggesting that because currently fire, they could come in at age 18, but law enforcement, no. They have to wait until 20. And as the senator before you said, they could be in training. In the military, they could hold a gun at 18, but in the Virgin Islands, the government, we don't allow it. So that would be something for you to consider.
Well, we have a case on our hands right now. So in the institution, so okay, duly noted. But the bill is pretty straightforward, so I will vote in the affirmative at the appropriate time. Thank you for the time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Sarro. Mr. Hansen, you quoted a study on the mainland. Did you do a local study? You had a study on the mainland that said 59, I think?
Are you referring to the patches in 1982 study of consequences of job stress in correction officers revealed?
Yes. You said that the life expectancy of a correction officer was 59?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, you use a study that's 39 years old.
Agreed.
So, it's like literally not applicable. And I just wanted to say locally, I know our officers live for a while. We have a sitting senator that have already exceeded the 59 threshold. And after I'm finished with this meeting, I'm going to see my dad, who is 92, who was a correction officer. And then you look at Mr. Schrader or Godata, correction officer. Mr. Garnett, who recently passed away in his late 80s, correction officer. Ms. Ross, Mona Ban's mom. All of these individuals were, the Virgin Islands is a different place, okay? So when we doing studies, we try not to use an older study or one that is applicable to the mainland. The Virgin Islands eat fungi, ground food, and fish and everything else, and weed will last a long, long time. Senator.
Agreed, Senator.
Okay, thank you.
If I'm able to add something to what you're saying.
Go ahead.
Right now in law enforcement, and I'm sure the nominee for police commissioner would agree, right now what we're missing in law enforcement is that veteran presence. This would allow us to retain that. What happened is we have systemically been having folks retire, and now we're to the point where we don't have that veteran presence that was here when I came in, when Mr. Martinez came in, when Senator DeGraff came in. We need to bring that back.
So we agree. We agree. That's what I was just trying to drive that home.
Yes, we agree. We agree.
Okay, good thing. So once we agree, let's move forward. Senator Payne, you recognize.
Thank you for the time, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon to the testifiers. I just have one or two questions as I also stand in support of this measure, which, as my colleagues have stated, is definitely straightforward. Mr. Dorsey, I see you online. Mr. Dorsey online. Can you hear me? I think you're muted, sir.
Yes, Senator. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you? How would this bill affect your tier 2 hazardous duty members?
Well, if the bill actually was to go in a different direction, it would have had effect on the those members. But since it's in support of, it's going to be a major plus for the members because we spoke to them. And I will tell you the truth, Senator, when we originally testified on this bill several years back, we didn't realize it was what you call a sunset bill. We thought it was something permanent. So as those recruits were coming in the last several classes, that was one of the questions they had for the union. And we always told them that that was a permanent age. So we are happy today that that's in place. So this is going to be a major step forward for our Tier 2 employees. So we really thank everybody here today. The sponsor of the bill as well as the committee. I think you guys are just doing an excellent job, and the executive order from the governor is another good point. Members were discussing that as well, territory-wide. So this is a plus. And Ms. Hassel, your presentation was really, really, really good. Not sure why you were an assistant, but it was really, really good. I really appreciate that.
All right. Thank you very much for that paid advertisement, Mr. Dorsey.
1 minute.
I just have one question for leadership of for fire, police, and corrections. What exactly is your agency doing to ensure that your members maintain optimal health throughout their career? Start with fire.
Good afternoon, Senator. Thank you for the question. We, over the years, and this hasn't just started, we always make sure that we allow our firefighters to have an annual physical. But like a couple of the other testified that we do want to move into that cognitive testing as well as a better cardiologist, a better cardio heart exam for those over 55. So those are some of the areas that we will look at, but currently we do have annual physicals in place for all our firefighters, all our staff.
Okay, corrections?
Time.
Mr. Chair?
Corrections, you may proceed.
Afternoon, Everett Hansen, Assistant Director. I know that the agency sought a partnership with one of the largest gyms on St. Croix. I'm not aware that we've solidified that on St. Thomas as yet, but I know that on St. Croix, the agency sought to have a partnership, would have a reduction in cost to the officers and the administration, the institution overall in St. Croix.
And lastly, PD, thank you for the time, Mr. Chair. I'll listen.
Thank you, Senator Payne. Senator Fred Gregory. The Commissioner. You needed?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. 1 minute, Senator Fred Gregory. Which commissioner you needed? Commissioner nominee Martinez?
Yes,
The previous question?
Thank you, Senator. What we're doing is not enough. Let's be honest. We can always do better. We need to do better. We have been having conversations, senators, regarding with our HR staff regarding the ability to mandate more training as far as physical fitness training. From a mental health standpoint, we're also working with several behavioral health agencies, private behavioral health agencies, where the department would like or intends to hire these companies to provide the mental health services without having to report the findings of those talks that our officers can go out there to have, unless it is something that is going to be detrimental to the officer or to the department. And like fire and corrections, we also provide annual physical fitness as well, physical fitness testing as well.
Thank you, Commissioner nominee. Senator Fred Gregory, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good segue. So, Commissioner nominee Martinez, you talked about physical fitness. Is it a requirement, or you identify a certain pool of individuals to conduct physical fitness with on an annual basis? So is everybody required to go through a physical fitness annually? And that question is also for fire.
Senator, regarding the annual physical examination, health examination, that is a requirement. Outside of that, we do not have, we do not require physical fitness training. And that is something that we're working on right now.
So that's the concern. I think the concern is, and I do agree that the law that we have in front of us as it's presented prior to, well, just in general, it does have some discriminatory nature to it. But it's also important for us to ensure that if we have, or if we are increasing the age limitation, that there should be some requirement around it for physical fitness. An individual should be required rather, to prove that he or she is physically able to continue in the job. So you said that you're not doing it, you're working on it. How about the Department of Fire?
Good afternoon, Senator. Same here. We do the annual physicals, which includes blood work, checking your heart.
Do you do physical fitness?
But we do not do physical fitness.
The answer is no.
Senator,
the answer is no.
Right. That's what I said in the beginning. No.
Good. So you guys do not do physical fitness. So I would want to believe that part of the requirement of the legislation, it needs to be clear. Because sometimes we have to help our departments and agencies along, that we should include, and I'm certain that the bill sponsor, I see him shaking his head, that should be a amendment that we should include, that, you know, they should be required to go through some level of physical fitness testing. Now, let me ask the Department of Personnel a question. So, of course, we continue to talk about ensuring that we are able to provide opportunities for young people in the territory, et cetera, right? So what are we doing differently to recruit in these particularly hard to staff areas? Are we looking to offer incentives? What creative things are we actually doing to ensure that we are able to attract some of our young people? Are we going into our schools and having the conversations? When I was in school, and many of y'all, all of us, I guess, except Mr. Nips, basically is around the same age, right? So we had the opportunity where the firemen and the policemen and all of them came into our schools and they had conversations and they encouraged. So what's happening there with the Division of Personnel right now?
Well, the Division of Personnel, thank you, Senator Gregory, for that question. We go into the school, they have their career days as usual, but we make it a point to go in and speak to the youngsters. We have, as you know, several career fairs. We have it via online or in person. We try to talk to youngsters all the time about getting into these careers. Law enforcement is a little bit difficult because of the age limitation. So even though they have the interest, and many times you go into the schools or even junior high and they want to be a policeman, but because they have to wait until age 20 to actually apply, we lose some of them. Unlike fire now, when we advertise, we have a whole lot of youngsters, 18, just coming out of high school, taking an exam. As a matter of fact, I had one who graduated in June, and in July, he was sitting a fire test, right? So we are reaching out to them and we are grabbing them. And Assistant Director Stevens could tell you, because we have had communications with that. Even them in school who want to see the exam before they even graduate, and we're like, no, you have to graduate. But I have Ms. O'Bain. Go ahead. You're on mute.
Senator, you're muted. Senator, you're muted.
What I really wanted to hear was, what is the Division of Personnel doing or looking at as it relates to incentivizing individuals to attract them to law enforcement in the territory? Because we know that we're challenged in that area, from the Bureau of Corrections in particular and VIPD. So let's not count fire. Let's look at those two. Incentivizing those individuals in the territory should be something that we are focusing on. So while we are all in favor of increasing the age, we still have to recognize that at some point, those individuals are going to age out of the system, if you will. So we got to come up with new ideas, new innovative ideas to incentivize our community and individuals who will be interested in moving into these fields. Mr. Chair, I don't have any other questions, but I am concerned about what we're doing to incentivize individuals to move into the law enforcement areas in the Virgin Islands.
Thank you, Senator Fred Gregory. Definitely a concern. Commissioner Nominee, you said that you don't require physicals?
No, sir, Senator. I said we do not require the physical training.
Physical training
Require-
or physical?
No,
Annual
we
physical.
require the physicals. We do not require the officers to participate in physical training after they have graduated the academy.
Point of information, Senator.
Senator
Point of
Dorsey, can you wait
information,
1 minute?
Senator.
And I'm going to come to you. I'm trying to get it clear though. You're saying that you require a physical, a medical physical, but you don't do physical training. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we require the annual physical, but we do not require the officers to participate in annual physical training. We're doing it right now at twice a year, and that's it.
Okay, and fire service, you said, do you require a physical, annual physical exam?
Annual physical exam, the medical annual physical exam, yes, sir.
Okay, and do you have any type of physical component that you're able to check as to see what type of physical labor, for lack of a better word, can be done by the firefighters?
Fitness.
Physical fitness.
No, sir, we do not. And that's why I agreed with Senator DeGraff in his opening statement, stating that that is something that should be added to this bill. So I do agree with it. Yes, sir.
Okay, but you know that physical fitness, that's something that the commissioner can implement immediately. That's not something that we need to codify. If the commissioner of the police department and fire service believe that it's important that the members are physically fit, you implement it and you have that conducted on a regular basis.
Point of inquiry.
Okay, we have a number of points, Senator Francis and then Senator Fred Gregory. But before that, Mr. Dorsey, go ahead and put what you wanted to put on the record.
Yes, good afternoon again, Senator. I was just going to reference that our current CBA, it does reflect that all fire personnel should be engaged in some type of physical activity. So it's not really restricted to your age, which is similar to what Ms. Hassel was saying. All firefighters, and our assistant director that's here today can tell you, he's been by the stations. We have weights in the stations. He see our members walking, doing their walks, doing their runs. So we are engaged. It's not a program per se, but as the assistant director can tell you, he's also been invited to our programs.
Yeah, well, I think that's a bit different component. We're asking about a physical fitness component as to whether or not you can measure the physical fitness of the members that are in the fire service and the police department. Senator Francis and Gregory.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to alert the commissioner nominee as well as the committee that in fact that there is a caveat in order for individuals to actually continue to serve in all of these capacity, whatever discipline are we speaking of today. And that caveat is that upon the age of 55, automatically you receive notice from HR to submit to a physical fitness for duty. And you have to go through the health department and get a certification that in fact that you're certified to continue to perform your physical abilities. And up until we changed this to extend it to 63, it was mandatory after 60 years old then to separate yourself. But from 55, automatically you get that notice, and then you have to go and submit yourself to the Department of Health. The commissioner will then certify you and allow, based on the commissioner, division of personnel, and the commissioner of health then will make that determination that in fact you're physically fit and continue your role. So there is a caveat already built in to the legislation that allow for that to occur. Additionally, under Title 23, Section 1206 also speak to the fact that you have to submit to that physical examination, and it says to be found after examination by a licensed physician or surgeon to be free from any physical, emotional, or mental conditions that might adversely affect his exercising of the powers or duties of a peace officer. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Senator Francis. Senator Fred Gregory.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to ask, just to follow up on, I think Senator Francis kind of wrapped it up, the VP. But let me just ask, what does the requiring the physical fitness, particularly for the Bureau of Corrections and the Virgin Islands Police Department, do you have anything in your CBA that requires a physical fitness, or if in fact you were to decide to do that, because the chair of the committee noted that, you know, we can't legislate everything, which in some instances we have to help departments and agencies along in order for us to get stuff done. But do you have anything in your CBA, or if you implement that on an annual basis, do you see where you will get pushback from the unions?
Commissioner nominee Martinez.
Senator, I can say that I've got my HR director online, Dwayne Richards, as well. There are those components in the CBA that the good Senator Francis speaks of, and I know that we continue to and have been performing those and sending individuals for those fitness for duty examinations. I don't see anything or understand if there's anything in the CBA that would prevent us from instituting a policy that mandates physical fitness training, but it is something I can follow up on.
Okay.
Again, Director Richards can speak directly to
BOC?
Bureau of Corrections.
Good afternoon, Senator Everett Hansen, Assistant Director, Bureau of Corrections. Okay, I do know of the 55-year-old policy that that states that at age 55, that is exactly what's performed. These individuals are sent for a fit for duty exam. But in addition to that, if we have an officer or someone that's labeled a peace officer, holds the title of peace officer, that is unable to do something, we can send them for a fit for duty examination.
Okay, 1 minute.
We have done that in the past.
The question was a collective bargaining agreement in your CBA. Does it speak to physical fitness?
At this time, I can't state that right now. I'd have to have it in front of me, to be honest with you. I do know of the 55-year-old, the 55 policy.
Okay, that is law.
And I know if they're not fit. But other than that, no, I cannot speak to that.
Okay, so if you can look into that for us, and I think Fire Service, Mr. Dorsey already said that it is included in their CBA. Senator Johnson, point of inquiry.
Good afternoon. Point of information. I really don't know what part we fall off the chart, but I know and I understand what my colleague over in St. Thomas is going through with this. When I worked to the Bureau of Correction, on an annual basis, we had to go through annual physical fitness training, annual, and firefighters and police department. And why this is so important, you're asking peace officer to go out there, carry a weapon on their side, but you're telling me after they go through the physical fitness training and become a law enforcement for the next 20 years, they don't go on a range? This is ridiculous. And it doesn't need legislations, bills to be passed for this to be enforced. This should be done by the commissioners, the directors, those who are on top. Because you cannot have people out there carrying a firearm around and ain't going to range. It's ridiculous to even hear this. So I hope that all three agencies will definitely look into the policies and guidelines and make sure that they start at the least doing on the range for now. And then make sure to implement the physical fitness part, because it's so important that it will get your officers to last even longer, because they know where the physical situation is and they will keep up with it and keep the pressure, whatever they need to do, in line by doing that annual thing. So thank you very much for this time, Mr. Chair, and I hope that they definitely look into making sure that they do at least on the range.
It's always good that a bill will bring other stuff out. So he has brought a lot of other stuff out, but now we're on focus back on the bill so we can move on. Senator Francis, you recognize. Good point.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to everyone. And let the record reflect that there is a requirement for firearms fitness, and I know that peace officer standard training requires for officers to receive their physical fitness of all peace officers, even at the legislature. We actually are notified for those individuals to submit to those things. So I want the record to be corrected that in fact firearms examination is conducted and is being done out there. As a matter of fact, that's the first thing the court call for. If there's any shooting, they always want to look at the officers' schedule of training and certification. But going back to this bill, I certainly in support of this measure. As you know, I'm the primary sponsor of the 7963, and I support us extending this. Yes, there was a sunset date when the bill was originally moved, and I'm like the idea of us making this permanent, and certainly support that. Bureau of Corrections, Director Hansen, these 39-year-old study, I'm hoping that that's not what you're utilizing to guide the policies and procedures of the Bureau of Corrections. I think that we need to employ much more recent studies to make a determination. Longevity is one of the most significant social transformation of the 21st century. So individuals are living longer. This is a win-win situation, not only for the government of the Virgin Islands, the GRS, but also in some instances for the various disciplines and the departments, because obviously you get to retain experience and certainly be able to share that. What's concerning for me is that we need to make sure that ensure that there is the succession planning occurring on that. Believe it or not, you could join the police department up until I think it's age 47, might be 47 or 48, but until 47, you could submit to join the Virgin Islands Police Department.
1 minute.
Which means if you do 20 years, it stands to reason that you'll be at least about, you'll be 67, 68 years old. So having this extended for some period of time, you'll be able to almost have a full career. Even if you left the military or other areas and then joined the police department, you still could subject yourself to a full career and serve at least close to 20 years within those departments. I wanted to ask Nominee Martinez real quick, have you done an attrition analysis of your current police force?
We have not. What we did in putting this in preparing to come here today, that when you look at it, right off, well, I should say the analysis that was done is a little old now. It's about a year old, just over a year old. But we can stand to lose about 38% of our force to retirement right now. And as far as this bill is concerned, there are 47 individuals territory-wide who are 55 and above.
Time.
47 individuals. You hear that? 47 individuals, and that was the urgency that led to the governor issuing the executive order, because perhaps it wasn't the 47 at that given time. However, but it was a critical number of individuals that could have separated from the police force, which means that they would have gone over to the GRS system, or we just, again, deplete a number of experience from the police department as well as the other disciplines there. Mr. Chair, I'll just conclude by stating that the 18-year-old consideration is a bill that I do have. Assistant Director Hassel. However, I've been back and forth with and some of my colleagues in regards to individuals saying they're just a baby at 18 years old. They're immature at 18 years old. But the reality is these very same 18-year-olds are the one that's going to fight war. They're also in the New York Police Department. You could join the police department in New York at 18 years old. So we really have to make sure that those individuals are properly trained, make sure that they're at the maturity level, and the police academy allow for that. They do a very good job in training you and preparing you for that. So I believe that you're not too far off in respect to our 18-year-olds being considered for police officers. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for the time. I'm standing in support of this measure and commend the bill sponsor. And at the appropriate time, I'll be offering an amendment to shift from 63 to 65. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Francis. Senator Carrion, you're recognized.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning to my, well, good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to my colleagues. I too rise in support of this bill, Bill 340099. And I echo sentiments of my colleagues. We clearly have ran into an issue in our various departments when it comes to recruiting and in some instances retaining individuals in the various positions within our department and agencies, and specifically in these critical areas that we've mentioned and what we're addressing today. I really don't have questions for this one. It's obvious that we have a gap and we have a problem, and we need to do something in order to continue providing the services in these critical departments that are so needed. I do echo sentiments of my colleagues with reference to having a succession plan. I think it's important. I think it's an area where sometimes we fail within the government to ensure that that knowledge is passed down to new employees that come in. So I think that is very crucial, and I look forward to hearing what are some of the departments that are here testifying today are doing or have it in place with regards to that, and also improving with our recruitment to be able to bring some fresh blood within these agencies and departments. Can any of you maybe share what are the plans in these regards?
You want to direct the question to someone?
Commissioner VIP, the nominee. Let's start with you. Mr. Martinez?
Certainly, Senator. Thank you. As it pertains to VIPD has been working on a recruitment plan for quite some time prior to me arriving here. And what we've encountered in the last, since I've been here, is the fact that we're not moving as quickly as possible. And I think that, so Director Richards and I in conversations, what we're seeing, especially in the last couple of months, has been the fact that we've got more of an, there's more folks, younger kids, who are interested in becoming police auxiliaries than police full-fledged officers. And that's a good thing. We would, of course, prefer them to want to be officers and to join the training academy, but we can also get them to become the auxiliaries, get them on board, let them see that this is an exciting career, and then they can easily transition over to full-fledged officers. One of the another thing that I think that we're doing is we're so focused on police officers that we're missing the boat at times, is that there are a number of these young individuals as well who are interested in other careers within the department, such as forensics and our drone programs and a host of other of the because they're technologically savvy, and that's also somewhere that we're going to increase our efforts. And I think that as a result of that, it will continue to build that interest that we're looking for, Senator.
Time.
I'm glad to hear that, because we do have to find creative ways other than providing incentives to be able to attract new blood within the department in various fields. Same thing with Department of Correction, the fire department, and all the areas. We definitely have to improve in that area. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the time.
Thank you, Senator Carrion. Senator Johnson.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to all testifiers. Good afternoon to my colleagues, and good afternoon to the viewer and listening audience. I too, I don't have a bite to this piece of legislation, but when the time comes, I definitely will be in supportive of this measure. But there's one thing I saw in this short title, that we're going to have to do a technical amendment. There isn't no prison guards around anymore. It's correction officers. So that piece needs to be fixed. My big brother, in the short title, that's the caption there. And well, my colleague, our father, was a prison guard that came out of Richmond. So some of them are alive, but that title doesn't fit and suit the category of our men in blue that do such a significant job. My question goes to PD nominee and the BOC. Do you guys have recruiters, people that are on your payroll for recruiting?
Senator, from the VIPD perspective, we do not have a full-time recruiter, but it is something that Director Richards and I have had conversations on as early as this week, and are moving post-haste to create that position.
Hansen?
Everett Hansen, Assistant Director. No, we do not have a full-time recruiter. I know that that has been discussed, but at this point in time, no, we do not have a full-time recruiter.
This piece of legislation is going to help at least for retaining, but that recruitment drive, especially in these two agencies, needs to be ramped up and ramped up in a very serious way, because there are folks out there, they don't know the benefits and the opportunities that are there for them, and with a good